Hello, happy Friday. Take two on the video today. The other video that I did was way too long, so I'm making this much shorter. I hope you're doing well. If you are interested in signing up for lessons start next Monday, September 8th. Please sign up so you can get in the first week. We go all the way through the first 2 weekends of June. Come join us. Come be in our recitals and do our convocation and learn from awesome teachers. And then piano, violin, viola, cello, voice, guitar, bass guitar, ukulele. If you're interested in any of those instruments, please go to our website, raleighschoolofmusic.com, and sign up for the request info. And if you're interested in Pilates, which I'm so excited about starting that will start next Sunday at 2 p.m. Come join us for that. Where in Raleigh could you ever do Pilates for $10? Pretty good. And this is unlike any Pilates class you've ever taken. It's going to be a lot of core work, of course, but also a lot of somatic work as well. So, working on our circulatory systems and our nervous system, and really going to work on form. So, come join us on the mat. Reach out, hello, RaleighSchoolMusic.com, and I will give you information about that as well. All right. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about last time I was on here. We were talking about loneliness. It's a tough subject. It hit very close to home for me. And I looked back at that. I watched that video and I realized that I had no accountability for myself. I was blaming everyone else's responsibility for my loneliness. And that is not true. Yes, I still believe that people have responsibility to reach out to our friends and to our family and to not become complacent and just to make an effort to and connect as much as possible. I think that we are all responsible in that way, but I also think that we as the people who are lonely have to be accountable too. I played a part. I play a part in my loneliness, a major part, a major part. And I just want to make sure that I am accountable to myself. So accountability, it's tough. It is not an easy thing for me. I don't think it's easy for a lot of people, but it's interesting though because I am so hard on myself inside my head. So hard on myself on any mistake, anything. I will just ruminate. I will just be very hard on myself, but I'm not always good about being vulnerable in front of other people and saying, hey, I messed up and I didn't do something that I needed to do, or I was doing something that was not good for me. Like, it's hard for me to say that. And I don't know if you relate to that at all, but it's true. I don't know why in this society that accountability is so hard. And we've talked about apologizing and how there's like different parts to apologizing. Where did we go wrong in society where we thought that being a leader meant we never apologize for anything, that we never like look back and say, hey, we messed up. Hey, that was a mistake. Hey, that we tried something and it didn't work. What Where did we go wrong that seems weak or that is not a good thing? I mean, I think as leaders, we need to be able to say, listen, I don't know. I don't know the future. I made a mistake. We tried this, it didn't work. And I don't know what the answer is, but if we work together, we'll get out of this. Like, I don't understand why that's a problem. It's like this being so sure of everything, right? And it's just not true. It's just not true. But I felt like for at least the last video and my loneliness, I needed to take accountability for it. I have a huge part to play in my own loneliness. One of the things is that I, for a long time, was gravitating towards people who did not value me. This is not just in relationships. This is also at the school. I would hire teachers that were impressive, were great teachers, cared deeply about their students, have notable careers, no like advanced degrees, and just, wonderful. But I knew for a lot of these teachers, they were not in alignment. They did not share the vision or the values of the school. And that is not always necessarily a bad thing. When you're with someone who doesn't share your vision and your values, you have to be able to kind of have a meeting of the minds and like agree to disagree, right? But it doesn't work when the person's actively working against. When I or anyone else is having to do convincing, we should not have to convince anyone of anything. And that's where Aaron had took a big part in that loneliness part because I was gravitating towards people who I had to convince. I had to convince my worth, convince my value, convince of them of like doing the littlest things. And that felt more lonely than actually being by myself. And so that was a huge pattern for me. I'm sure it was something to do with childhood. I've always been one who does a lot of work, is used to doing a lot of work for relationships and my family and all that. It's just what I'm used to. And so I'm sure it was a coping skill. I'm sure it brought me a false sense of control because if I'm doing a lot of the work for a relationship, that means that I have control, and that's not true. It's stemming from distrust. I distrust. I wouldn't allow myself to be seen. I would, not this stuff that I'm showing you, I wasn't showing people ever. And so that is definitely something that I've changed and or working towards. Uh so there's a lot of things. I mean, I think just trusting. I think that's just trusting. I think that's when you start to trust is when you are no longer lonely, maybe. I think there's a big correlation there. Um, so I'm looking back at my notes about accountability. Um, so like how can we relate this back to being a musician? Well, we can talk about the same thing I talk a lot about musicians is that we're undervalued, at least as a profession. And and I say that like it's everybody, but I'm not. I'm generalizing right now. Um, but when we are undervalued, we wind up doing things that we don't want to do. We agree to things we don't want to do. We do things that are out of alignment. We wind up hurting people because of that. And we think we're protecting, but we're hurting them because we're doing stuff that we don't want to do. So people can pick up on the energy. They can see that. And it's not your best work if you're doing things that you don't want to do. And so, a way for us to be accountable is to value ourselves no matter what, to value ourselves as performers, as people, no matter what feedback we get, no matter what happens. And I don't think that's always very easy because it's like, what is the saying about if the tree falls in the woods, can we hear it or whatever it was? I feel like this is kind of ironic that people say you should have value no matter what, but yet we are in a society full of people. And if we are not valued professionally, if we are not valued as a person, that we don't get to make a living. So it's kind of a little paradoxical, but at the same time, we still have to believe in ourselves and to have value. And we're not always, people don't always agree with that. And so I think that's why I say this. When somebody comes into the school and I ask what are their goals, and I say, you realize you can do anything, right? You can go as far as you want to go. You can be a professional if you want to. But here's the thing, you have to be able to be creative with it. You have to let go of like your preconceived ideas of what a professional is. You got to like there, and it's not going to be easy, probably not going to be easy. And but if you don't hold that vision, if you don't believe that you're is a possibility, then what's the point? What like how are you accountable to yourself then? And, this is what we're talking about today. Like if you don't believe it's a possibility, then how does anything that we do matter? If we don't believe that we can do it, then why do it? I think it's hard. I think it's really hard to be accountable. I think that is, I was in positive intelligence and we had to name our saboteurs. We had to take this test and like it to show like what gets in our way. And for me, my top one, and I say this very trepidatiously, like I'm a victim. Victim was my top saboteur. So I tend to think of myself as a victim a lot of the time. Now, if I'm accountable to myself, I would be saying, no, I'm not a victim. I'm doing this to myself. So I can be the only one that changes it. And I have to do this internally. This is not an external thing. So this loneliness thing is not an external thing, it's an internal thing. And it's like, the kid in me is like, I've tried so many things. And that's what I said last time. I've tried so many things, but do I stop? No, because I have to value myself. It's tough. I would not have ever said any of this to you a couple years ago. I would not have ever said that I identify with being a victim. I would never have said that I have a problem and a hard time being accountable. Um, but I think this is how I'm being accountable to myself, is I am allowing myself to be seen for the flawed person that I am. And it just goes to show that you can be a leader. And well, I'm not some big leader. I run a music school. We are not perfect. Stop trying. And I'm telling this to myself, stop trying to be perfect. Stop trying to appear perfect. You aren't. You have value, but you're not perfect. It's like saying I'm special but not important. That's a hard to say. Oh man, especially when you're lonely, that's a hard thing to hear. But I got to do it. So I think that we grow as people when we start taking accountability too. So I think there is a little happy medium in there. I think that other people should take responsibility for each other. We did back in the day for like we would live in groups of people. What happened? Well, COVID and internet and all that. We have to take responsibility. We can't just not be a friend. We cannot just like decide we're not going to do any work towards a friendship and expect that to continue on. But at the same time, we also have to take accountability for ourselves because we can't control other people and they might not be able to be available to us. So, what are we going to do? What am I going to do? So, I think I'm going to come on here again at some point and talk about some ways to combat loneliness, things that you can do. And I don't have the answers. I'm going to experiment more. That's all I can do is just to try different things and figure it out and try keep working on the internal side of me, which I want to give another EMDR review because I freaking love it. And I'm going to talk about it some more, but I didn't want this video to be too long. But yeah, I don't know why we cannot take accountability, apologize, admit when we're wrong, when we don't know things, when we make mistakes. Like, I don't get it. And I'm telling this to myself too. On that note, I will talk to you soon. Have a wonderful weekend and see you when school starts next week.